Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is Ask the Tech Coach Live. We are here broadcasting on Facebook and on YouTube and across all of our social media networks, and we love it if you guys are out there participating with us today. You can, of course, find us on our hashtags TechCoachEDU. With me, as always, is my co-host, Miss Susan Vincent. Sue, how are you today? Welcome to Tech Coach Live.
I am great, and it's so awesome to be live with everyone. So, hopefully, you're out there having a great summer as we move through July. We're in the middle of July, and things are about to get real in a few weeks, right?
Absolutely getting real for a few weeks. Today, we are talking about two very, very important topics. One of them is we're going to be discussing the three most important questions facing tech coaches this year. It is getting to that point where we're starting to look forward, looking ahead. And before we bring ourselves back into class, we want to talk about the things that are most important about it. If you guys have any questions on your mind about coaching, getting back into school, or anything educational technology, do us a favor and leave a comment below. But first, Sue, we had a little bit of an anniversary happen. Did you notice that we were kind of doing a little bit of celebration a couple days ago?
Yes, Jeff. Happy anniversary of TeacherCast. I haven't been here for the whole thing, but man, you definitely have. So, what is it you're celebrating here? Let us know.
Well, I know that we're doing a live audience, and I just wanted to take a moment to everybody who's out there live, and of course, everybody who's out there listening every single week on our Ask the Tech Coach and TeacherCast channels. On July 11th, we officially hit that milestone I've been waiting for a long time. TeacherCast is now 10 years
10 years
old.
old.
Thousands of podcasts, hundreds of thousands, it seems like, of blog posts and edits and all that great stuff. We're almost at 2 million views on YouTube, and a lot of people on social
Yes.
media. So want to take a moment out there to say thank you to everybody. It has been awesome. And we are in the midst right now of kind of cataloging the last 10 years on our Jeff Bradbury show. And if you guys have a chance to check out TeacherCast today, please head on over to teachercast.net. Would love to have you guys. And we just wanted to take a moment to say thank you guys for making TeacherCast your home for professional development. But Sue, tonight we're talking all about you guys, our coaches out there, because I got to tell you, I'm excited to go back to school. I feel like I just left. And even today, when we were recording this, I was in school today teaching professional development to our brand new teachers. But there are so many things on our minds. Sue, you're starting back at school too, aren't you? You're doing some new employee orientations.
Yes, one of our campuses is on an alternative calendar. So students return next week, and I've been working with new teachers this week. So, yeah, those questions are very hot topics right now of, how are we as tech coaches going to serve these teachers? And these teachers are asking us, what are things going to look like? So, we're going to kind of talk through some of those things today. So, what is one of those big burning questions, Jeff, that you're starting to get asked by your teachers? I bet.
I think the question that we were trying to figure out even today between those employees who have been in my district and even the new ones is, what is school going to look like? It was really weird today teaching our new employee orientation. This is something that we revamped over the last 6 months, really as a way to get those teachers in, teach them what they want to learn, and much like a pit crew, get them into the classrooms, into new classrooms as soon as possible, sometimes even the next day.
Right.
Throughout the year, the biggest reason for getting them in and doing all these ed tech things was to help them learn how to do Google Meet, help them learn how to do Teams meetings. But this was a little different because we're no longer teaching them how to do virtual meetings. We're just getting down and dirty and teaching them how to support those curricular pieces using the educational technologies in their room. So I know in my state of Connecticut, there won't be any hybrid classrooms. It's going to be full on physical classrooms. And I got to tell you, I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, mostly here in this area in Kentucky, in our region, we're pretty much back face to face. I mean, we have virtual options where people have signed up to stay home, but dedicated teachers to that. So, really, it won't be that much of a hybrid thing. But my hope as a tech coach, and that's what I'm trying to reiterate to my teachers, both new and veteran, is I hope the blended approach stays. Maybe we're not hybrid and doing both at the same time, but I hope that blended approach stays with, using the digital lessons that you've learned and integrate those into day-to-day instruction.
I completely agree. Making sure that our teachers are moving forward, right? Because we just did a whole year and a half of PD on how to do, yes, I know we were focusing on teaching while on camera, but really we were bringing in these tools, the flip grids, the wakelets, the Teams meetings, the OneNotes, all those great things. There was a lot of stuff that we brought in, which really comes up with our second question here of how do you think teachers are going to have their expectations set? I had a teacher today ask that same question. How are we expected to teach? What is it going to look like moving forward? How are we going to set this table as coaches? And you know what, Sue? My only answer was it's got to start up on the top. Like the
Oh,
principal, the
absolutely.
school district has to set that expectation of, guys, even though everyone's in your room, masks, no masks, plexiglass, whatever it is, you're still expected to be an awesome teacher. You know how to use your flip grids. You know how to use your
Yes,
wakelets. You know how to use. So I'm hoping that teachers out there are going to be more wanting to use us as coaches to help push them forward.
absolutely.
I hope our principals are are hoping to use us as coaches more in different ways than just the way that we've been traditionally used. What about you? Have you guys in your districts had any conversations about what are the expectations for digital learning, or let's just call it learning in the classrooms this year?
Yeah, in fact, I've been working on that this week with our new teacher training and also getting ready to meet with faculties on those first day faculty meetings when they return for teacher in service. There was a document we had last year. As we entered into the new school year, we started face to face and had some hybrid and virtual going on. And was afraid we would have to go remote at any time. So we had a document. Here are your technology requirements. You're going to use Google Classroom for this. You'll use Screencastify. Here are your standards. And I went back and started looking at it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to revise this. I can't, have the teachers follow this because we're going back to somewhat of what we would say a normal, obviously hoping that they will up their game.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I've had to go back and revise those documents. And I still left the wording in the case that the need arises that we go to remote learning, this, and this will happen. But I had to roll it back to day to day instructions. Here is what the standards are from the technology and the curriculum department.
Have you talked about what those PD days are going to be like? Are they being set by the principals? Are they being set by the coaching staff? Are you guys having conversations on these things? I love to see districts where it's all just one thing. Again, it's not digital learning, it's not curricular, it's just learning
Yeah,
and
we
trying to
do a
figure out what these PD things are.
Yeah, we are very blessed in that realm. We do a combination of everything. And as a tech coach, I'm part of the curriculum department, which is awesome. And I work with the curriculum specialist, the assistant superintendent. And part of our job is to plan the system wide PD. And then we have days that are allotted for the principals in their own buildings, and then we allot that to them to plan what they need for their own staff. But we do have the ability to plan system PD, so we can put in those strategies, those dynamic learning frameworks and those types of things as we go through the year and encourage technology use and just good rigorous instruction.
I think having that plan, and I know this is the time of year where the administration gets together and plans this stuff. And I think there's a difference between this is the plan and this is the reasoning behind the plan. I really do think that as we're going through here, the philosophy of the district needs to get out there. That's one of the things, like, I love that my district is like, here's our mission, here's our vision, here's what we're doing, this is why. Now let's go do it. And
Absolutely.
for me, that makes things clear for a coach, makes things clear for a coaching department. And also it takes the questions away from the teacher, the saying, why are we doing this? Like, we know why we're doing this. We know what these coaches are for. We got a lot of people out there listening live right now on Facebook and on YouTube. We would love to have you guys comment on any of these topics. And if you guys have any questions for us about coaching or what it might be like this year for you guys, please feel free to leave a comment on our YouTube or on our Facebook page. We are here live today as we celebrate our 150th episode of Ask the Tech Coach. Sue, it's hard to
Mhm.
believe that we got to 150, but as we say
Yes.
in the triplet world, that is what happens after you celebrate your 149th. You know, for the last 150 episodes, this podcast has changed an awful lot. We
Very
started off
much.
by being a two-man show, me and a good buddy of mine, Rob Pennington. Literally just talking about apps. Like, this was originally the app show. What's your favorite app? I think one of our first episodes was how do you dissect a frog virtually, and that was great.
Interesting.
It was a great episode. Still available over at askthetechcoach.com. It's like episode 3 or 4 or something like that. And very quickly, we realized that the questions that tech coaches had were real. And the biggest questions that tech coaches have are, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? What are the things that I'm going to need to be successful? And over time, around the 20s or so, maybe even earlier than the 20s, Nick Amaral, one of my former co-hosts, and I decided to start off the year in the life of a tech coach. We're both at the time tech coaches for our districts, and we decided that starting in August, we were going to take all the relevant topics and do an entire year's worth of shows based off of the different stages of tech coachness. And as we plan out episodes number 151, 152, 153, probably through 190 something, we're going to shift back to a similar format. But we are here to do this with you guys. If you have any
Absolutely.
topics that you'd like to have, let us know. You can always find us on Twitter at Ask the Tech Coach. You can always, use hashtag TechCoachEDU. And you can always head on over to Ask the Tech Coach, fill out one of our forms. We would love to not only have you guys on as a guest, but also help you guys out. And that is why we have our TeacherCast Tech Coaches Network available to you guys. Lots of great stuff has happened over the last 150 episodes in the world of tech coaches. And we are so thankful that you guys are here with us for the last 150 episodes. And I want to say thank you again to everybody out there who's watching live
Yes.
or listening in their cars. But we are not done yet. We have one more question, which is, Sue, what have you learned? All right, we've been dealing with this now for the last year and a half. It's still strange. We're used to saying in the last year. I guess now it's officially the last year and a half, but we've learned an awful lot of stuff as teachers. We've learned an awful lot of stuff as school districts. And I know as a coach, I've certainly learned a lot. I think one of the biggest advantages that I've had as a coach was participating in a full year 2 years ago now as a middle school teacher and living with being back in the classroom for 5 or 6 months, going into teaching in the pandemic. I mean, that helped set me up for all of this type of conversation and show and content. But let me ask you guys, what have you learned over the last year and a half?
I mean, for me, it's definitely just again develop. We talk about this all the time, but developing that relationship, and those relationships that I carved in previous districts, and then bringing it to a new district, and in the middle of my second year in a new district is when the pandemic hit, and those relationships that I carved in that year and a half before we had to shut down were hugely important, because then I got to serve those teachers at the drop of a hat on a day's notice and be able to instruct them virtually when they actually finally had a need to know those things. They had a
Mm-hmm.
need to learn how to use Google Classroom. They had a need to learn how to use Flipgrid and Screencastify.
And there's a lot of them, right? And I think the biggest thing that I learned here, and you kind of picked on it here, is keep the communication coming. Don't just pop in
Yes,
and then 3 weeks later, how you doing? Be consistent, right? It's all
absolutely.
about relationships. For myself this year, I was in many schools, but I was specifically also in one school and trying to keep communication. We did it through email, we did it through Teams, we did it through knocking on the door, we did it through finding people in the hallway, we did it through just being there, creating videos and passing them out of the different skills and stuff that we're discussing, making sure that you're building your tech coach brand. I know that's something that we focused on a lot here on the podcast, but just making sure that you have those relationships both with your teachers and with your administrators, making sure that there's really one page and we're all on it, moving in the
Yeah.
same direction.
And Jeff, you talk about building your brand. And as a tech coach, that's one thing during the pandemic that I've worked hard on. I've always wanted to, have that brand and, have myself out there where I'm available to help people because that is my passion. And through this pandemic, that's allowed me to learn more about that. And I always say thanks to Jeff, who has helped motivate and create things with me and for me to get myself out there. So not only am I now able to help the teachers in my school system, but to be out here talking to you guys who are listening to us here right now.
One of the things that I know I'm going to be thinking about this year is, the fact that last year we had to, so we did. And this
Yes.
year, I think my motto is going to be, just because we did before really does mean we should do it again, right? You
Yeah.
you tried Flipgrid, let's try it again. It's going to be easier on you because your kids all have their cameras turned on because they're physically right in front of you. You
Yes.
tried using Google Maps in a way you've never thought about. You tried making Google slide animations. You used a Wakelet for the first time. Let's continue with that. It's so easy for teachers to come back and say, yeah, I'm going to go back to the way it used to be. And again, that's where I think we go back to questions 1 and 2 of what are the expectations? How does it work? How are we going to make things survive this year?
Yeah.
And I think, Sue, there's only one way that we can do this, and that is together. I know that sounds
Absolutely.
really, really Steve Rogers of me, but there's only one way that we can get together here, and that's to make sure that we're here. And the best way to do that is by subscribing to our podcast, Ask the Tech Coach. We drop it every single Monday, as we have for the last many years. And also heading over to teachercast.net/YouTube and subscribing to it. We are almost at that 15,000 mark. We're not quite ready to celebrate that one yet, but we're within 60 subscribers or so. So if you're listening out there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button over on teachercast.net/YouTube. We've got a great program for you guys. And every single week, we've got a new video called Tech Coach Weekly. We've been covering all your favorites from Canva to Google Sites to Microsoft Sway to Teams to you name it. There's a lot of great stuff out there. I hope you guys have a chance to check out our weekly episodes of Tech Coach Weekly today. And of course, subscribe for more information. So, Sue, I'm got to say, I'm looking forward to everything that's going on here. What are you looking forward to?
Oh, I mean, so much stuff here at TeacherCast. I'm so excited about, and over at My Tech Imaginations and YouTube channel. But just to start this year with some excited teachers, with some, fresh, recharged energy, ready to get into those classrooms and reach those students. That's my motivation.
Please join us next week, same time, same channel. We're going to be launching every podcast on our Mondays at 6 o'clock in the morning. Next week, we're going to be covering the 3 things that you should be doing as coaches before the school year starts. I bet you know what those things are. We would love to have you guys join us for that episode. So don't forget, that's going to be episode number 151. We're launching that next week, the first week in August. 3 things to do before the school year starts. And so that wraps up this episode, this special anniversary episode of TeacherCast, episode number 150 of Ask the Tech Coach. And we hope that you guys have enjoyed this and all the shows that we've had. Of course, our archives are over on AskTheTechCoach.com. And of course, you can find us over on Twitter at AskTheTechCoach and follow the hashtag TechCoachEDU. And that wraps up this episode. On behalf of Sue and everybody here in the TeacherCast Educational Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury. Remember to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.